Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Beyond Insights. Just waiting for Grace, who is joining me today. She's just got to join. There we go. Right, thank you everyone for joining us today for this exciting episode of Beyond Insights. Today we are joined by Grace Johnson, who is the owner of G2 CFO, an accounting firm that's based in Little Rock, Arkansas. The firm uses their extensive experience to assist small businesses with their financial needs. So thank you so much for joining us today, Grace. Really appreciate you being here.
Well, it's terrific to be here on a podcast. This is kind of exciting. Thank you so much for asking me.
Awesome. So I thought maybe we could start with a bit of your background and how you got into accounting.
Well, it's kind of a fun story. Of course, myself, like so many young people, I believed I could be anything I wanted to be. I just needed to work at it really hard. And I had this fantasy that I would be someone who worked at the United Nations and have all kinds of language experience and be involved in negotiations and things like that. And that was kind of my dream. Well, I went to college and worked on my languages and figured out that I'm not really good at that. Wasn't good at it at all. So one of the suggestions was that possibly, since I was interested in negotiations, maybe I should go into business.
Interesting.
So I took my first accounting course, and I was the high score for the semester. It just really resonated with me. It stuck with me. It seemed like it was a natural fit. And from there on, it was a career. And I knew what I wanted to do after that. I loved the logic of it. Just like with languages, I liked that same type of method.
It's really interesting because accounting, if you think about all the different accounting terminology, it is like a kind of language. You know, you're learning about your debits and credits. So I think it's very different, but also I can see the way that would connect. And then in terms of G2 CFO, you started your own accounting firm instead of working for another firm. I think that's a really brave thing, becoming an entrepreneur. What encouraged you to start your own firm?
Well, I started my firm in 2017, and before I was an entrepreneur, I was in public accounting. Right out of college, I worked for the Internal Revenue Service, did the public accounting route, then moved into corporate finance. And so had a 30-year career before starting my own business. And I knew a lot of benefits from being in big corporations where we had consultants come in, help us learn about processes, how to put them together, how to take out waste, how to track key performance indicators and things like that so that you didn't get lost in the unimportant details and you kept your eye on the prize, the thing that really moved the needle. And so I knew that small business needed these same skills in their business, yet they can't afford $150,000 a year controller and or a CFO gets paid a whole lot more than that.
Yes.
So one of the things I had done was started reading some articles about advisory in the CPA environment and having your own firm. My husband is a software developer, so he also had his own business, and I knew that he and others that he worked with that had their own businesses, they need these same types of services. So from there, that's where I got the idea, and with his support, I was able to launch my business.
Amazing. And I think what's really interesting about your firm as well is that you're a completely virtual firm. And starting in 2017, that was before COVID, that was before the trend to virtual firms. And I think a lot of people, at least this was my experience, were quite resistant at first to doing things online. I know for us at SIFT, we grew a lot during COVID because suddenly people were prepared to have more online meetings. So I wanted to know, why did you start it as a virtual firm? What gave you that idea? It was really, ahead of the curve.
Of of course, I had the background with my husband's experience and seeing what all was available with technology.
Yes.
So I could kind of look a little bit forward with that. But what I wanted was a non-traditional way of working. I didn't really like the early morning meetings till, 6 o'clock in the evening routine. I wanted to have more flexibility in my lifestyle. I now have grandchildren. I wanted to be able to spend more time with them, but at the same time, I wanted a challenge. I wasn't ready to no longer have a challenge. I wanted it all. And so what I wanted to do is put together a business that would provide me with those challenges, provide excellent services to businesses that need those services, and also enhance my personal life.
Amazing. And I guess you said you wanted a challenge. What were some of the main challenges that you encountered when you were getting set up?
Well, as you mentioned, the resistance to a virtual firm. Many people saw that as just too crazy. They just couldn't imagine. What do you mean I don't drop off my documents? What do you mean I don't come to your office to sign my tax return? We didn't do any of that. We have never done paper documents. Everything we've done is with the document management system from the very beginning. Our clients had to be able to upload documents. They had to be able to receive documents, sign things electronically, take care of all of their business that way. And so it wasn't for everyone in the start. It took some very wise people to see how this could benefit them as far as productivity. It's just a time management efficiency that I don't understand sometimes why people don't want to embrace it.
Yeah.
But change is not something that's pleasant a lot of times. I mean, I feel the same way about change sometimes. I love knowing things. I don't necessarily always love learning them because that transition can be difficult and can take more time. And so unless you're really sure that what you're going to get on the other side is worth the extra effort, you may not want to get that started. But we worked very hard with our prospects that were willing to give us a try to make sure that they were comfortable with the software and that we could get them started on it. And since then, it has just taken off really well.
Amazing. I think that sometimes it just takes that getting over the hurdle. If it means like you help them get implemented on whatever the software is, show them how to use it, and then show them the value of it. Like you were saying, they have to see how this is going to benefit them, how it's going to be better than manually coming in and handing over receipts and signing documents.
Mm.
And in terms of your staff, did you find any resistance from their side in terms of working virtually?
No, fortunately, because I had had a long career with a lot of managers that I'd worked with and other accounting finance professionals, all I had to do was to let it be known that I had a firm and was looking for employees that were interested in getting on board with this idea. I've hired only people that I know so far and know their skill sets, know that they are, invaluable. So I've been very lucky in that way because actually I've had more than one of them come directly to me even before I put out a notice that we were needing someone, and said, when you're ready to go the next level and you're needing someone, let me know. I want to come work for you.
Oh, that's really amazing.
Yeah, well, that was terrific. And that made sure that I had excellent people on my staff right from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think having good people on your staff is top priority.
It's very key. I can't do it all myself, nor do I want to.
And in terms of kind of building and developing relationships with clients virtually, did you find that a struggle, or was it kind of easy to build those relationships?
Well, I think it's really important whenever we get a new client, a lot of times they're coming from a prior experience that wasn't good.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of distrust. They're not certain that, this is going to go any better. And so initially you have to spend some time. You have to make sure that what we say we're going to do, we do. and that we communicate it timely, and we make sure that what we are expressing to them is in a way that is understandable to them in their language, and
Right.
they know that their goals are going to be met with our assistance, and they have to have that belief. And once we get over that hurdle, and that just takes usually the first 90 days, if we will really commit to that, after that, we're off and rolling with no real problem. We do have routine meetings with our clients. And I thought at first they're not going to like this because not everybody loves numbers. But what I found was when we started setting goals and they were accomplishing those goals, and then we were looking at the next hurdle, they were excited about these meetings. They enjoyed them, and they were ready for the next one.
Amazing. I think, again, well, on one point, it's about building that sense of trust. And then it's really showing the value. So this goes into setting those goals and also the value of just making all the processes so much easier and more convenient.
That's right. And taking a load off of them as far as the compliance and other those nuisance tasks that you've got to make sure get done.
Yes.
Yet that doesn't necessarily make you any money. So if we can take some of that off of them and help them strategically with some good planning, they're clients for life.
And in terms of the technology that you work with, do you have any kind of emerging apps that you've found that have really helped you with this?
Well, of course, we are huge SIF fans. That was one, I would tell you that was one of the best decisions that we have made. And we worked very hard, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast today.
Oh, it's good to hear.
I am not paid. What we did was we evaluated quite a few softwares that had some similar qualities to SIFT, and we spent a year actually looking at various options because we knew we needed to connect the accounting software to something better as far as the reporting. We needed to do budgets, rolling forecasts, all of those more enhanced things, and get off of Excel spreadsheets.
Right.
That was becoming way too cumbersome. And also when you try to share that with a client, that becomes too technical, and they need it in a manner that is meaningful to them. It summarizes it. It looks pretty. So SIFT took care of all of that. The benefit of SIFT that is head and shoulders above anyone else is the live view. That has been a game changer. Our clients love it, that they can log into their live view when they get the reports. They can check their top expenses. They can drill down on the various transactions from there without having to log into somewhere else and try to put all the pieces together. It's right there. They particularly like the health aspect of it, where they have their targets, and they like seeing all those greens. And if they're not getting greens, they really want to work at it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think being able to actually visually see what's happening in your business is really helpful. I guess because I don't want to push SIFT too much in this podcast, are there any kind of other apps that you use alongside SIFT that you would recommend to others that you think have really helped with your processes?
Well, we do use QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Online Payroll and the tax software that's related to Intuit. Now, sometimes we have to enhance that a little bit because it's not necessarily as sophisticated as we need, but we're able to work with it. The integration of that is key. And for any kind of tech stack you use, you've got to have integration.
Yes.
Otherwise, all the inputs and double checking whether or not that feed worked, all that sort of thing, that becomes too cumbersome and time consuming. So I think that part is really important.
And I was wondering if you have an example you can think of a client that you've had a real success story while working in your virtual firm.
Well, one of the things that I would say happened, and I don't want to go too far into the past, but COVID kind of was one of those pivotal points where either you got on board or you got left behind. And in our situation, we were able to help lots and lots of companies get access to the paycheck protection loans, to various other things, because we could do everything virtually and online. We didn't have to meet in person. We didn't have to worry about spreading germs or anything like that. And we were able to get them over the hump. It also allowed us to do a contract with a local university that got a fairly large grant. And with that, we were able to provide services to over 50 small businesses within that year.
Wow.
Which many of them then became clients, and they are sold on the virtual, and they will never go back. But that momentum, as horrible as that time was in so many ways, all of those changes that were kind of queued up as far as technology and making the change to remote or hybrid work traditions, it went ahead and launched it.
Yeah, I think exactly we saw the same thing. As much as it was a terrible time, it also really accelerated the use of all of these different technologies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, in terms of going back to your team, because we've spoken previously on the podcast about how hard it is to find good talent to join your accounting firm and then to keep that talent. How do you manage your team and keep them happy while they're all working virtually?
Well, as I said, I work with people that I know, so that helps a lot. We already have established relationships. But in order to keep all of that going, all of those individuals don't necessarily know each other, though.
Yes.
I'm the common element, but they were not necessarily all working together before. So what we do is we have the traditional routine staff meeting where we go over projects and issues, and we brainstorm any kind of problems anybody might be having as far as a solution. What I find with team development is what's important is clear communication, timely communication, and respecting each other's time. And that right there will move along a team very quickly as far as reliability in each other. We cross-train so that everyone is familiar with the other functions that are being done in the event we have an unplanned absence from a key person. You just never know where they can easily fit in. We celebrate the successes of our clients and recognize that we helped with that. And I think that really does grow that sense of community within our own team.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I think that respecting each other's boundaries and timely communication is so critical.
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, but there's no amount of events that you can have to build a team outside of work that will replace timely communication and respecting each other's time. You've got to have that.
Oh, definitely. And in terms of managing that communication, do you have any sort of strategies you've put in place or anything you could recommend to other people who might be thinking of starting a virtual firm?
When you talk about communications, are you talking about communications within the team or with clients?
I think both.
Both, okay. Well, with clients, of course, it's important to respond timely. We do make sure that we respond within routine business hours, within, let's say, 24 hours, to make sure that client gets a response. The same thing as team members. We're not opposed to text, but we do minimize that so that it's not a constant disruption to each other. And we do get to the point fairly quickly. We're accountants. We know how to do that. So we value each other's time and definitely that of our client.
I think really critical. I know it's one of the things that came up a lot after the pandemic was there was this expectation that you would be always online and always checking messages, and that can completely deplete your resources, make you exhausted, lead to burnout.
Right, because you never have off time. We use Gmail, and what we like about that is that, let's say you want to respond to an email, but that client is in a different time zone because we have clients that are all over the United States. We don't necessarily want to send that email outside of normal work hours, but we can schedule it. So you can go ahead and take care of it during your normal work time, schedule it when it's going to hit during their normal work time, and that way there's no delays. And we like that feature a lot.
Amazing. In terms of growing your firm, do you have any strategies you can think of for growing your client base, finding new prospects?
We haven't done much of any advertising, very, very little. Sometimes we do some social media, but typically that is to promote one of our clients as far as, an event that they're having, or recently in my state, we had a series of really bad weather events, and I have quite a few insurance agencies that are our clients, and they did an outstanding job supporting our community. And so we wanted to bring attention to that. And that's typically how you'll see us on social media. All of our clients have come from warm referrals. We do a good job. And of course, they immediately tell someone else who's having trouble or mentioning it, and then they contact us. So we know that we're going to get a prospect that is like the client we already like.
Yes.
And so that's just a great fit, and it just helps it continue to move forward. We are in local chamber and networking groups, because what we want to do is it's not necessarily to bring in new prospects, but what we want to do is develop a source of referrals for our clients, so that when they need banking, real estate, retirement planning, any of those other extra services, we have kind of an idea of who is really great at that, and we can help connect them.
It's amazing. It's really about building a network. And I suppose the approach is not to think of looking for new clients, but rather keeping the clients that you have happy, and then that word of mouth really is the most powerful form of advertising.
It is, and it makes us feel really good when we get those referrals.
Sure. Do you have any lessons that you can think of over the years of running a virtual firm, things that you would have done differently? Any main takeaways that you've had?
Well, on the virtual part, I think that is important, to have a good tech stack. But as far as clients go and prospects, I think it's really important that there be mutual respect between the client and us. And there has been times when we have taken on a client that just wasn't a good fit. They weren't polite, and they weren't considerate of other people's time and expertise. And sometimes I was slow to let that client go. And because, you don't know when there's going to be the next one, or maybe I can make this work, or that sort of thing. Through a few years of experience, I no longer tolerate that at all, unless, I want everybody to be happy. And if that client doesn't seem to be happy with us, if there's that rub, then I try to help them move along to something that's a better fit, because it just usually doesn't get any better.
I think that's a really difficult...
It is, and when you're starting out, that can be something that you're kind of afraid of, because you don't know when will the next one come along. But you have to have confidence in the quality of service that you're providing, and that you having someone who's not satisfied, that is the worst referral source you could have, because typically they tell people that they're not happy, and so that's no good, is it? That won't help at all. So I think that's important, is early on, if it's not a good fit, cut them loose and let everybody find the right solution.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that's a really tough one, because you work so hard, to get a client, and you don't know when the next one is coming, but you do want to feel respected. It's a two-way relationship, really.
It is. And if they're not respectful, then more than likely we're not going to be effective.
And in terms of the way that you actually meet with clients, do you have sort of Zoom meetings or telephone communications? How do you usually have your meetings, you know, when you take them through a report, for example?
We use Google Meet as our primary source for that. And that way we can do a presentation, bring up their SIFT reports, go through it page by page, talk to them about it, or give them a demonstration of how it is they drill down and look at things. So it's very interactive. All of my employees have a good setup as far as their workspace. We do 6 screens. So we can have a lot of documents up at any one time while we're having those meetings, so we can easily click to the document we want them to see promptly and have it up on the screen. I think that makes a big difference right there, is that you've got to have the right setup.
Wow, 6 screens. I don't think I've heard of that many screens before.
Right. Well, it really, at first, it takes a little getting used to, but you'd be surprised at how quickly you can work through things if you have what you need right in front of you, where you can quickly find that number and know what you need to do next.
It makes sense. Also, you're saving costs on renting out a big office, having everyone in person every day, so you can reinvest that money into the tools that are actually going to help you every day.
Yes, we reinvest the money into the tools, and we also provide our employees all an allowance for their home office. So they can buy the chair that suits them, the desk that suits them, whether or not they want a standing desk or one that has a treadmill underneath it or something, whatever works for them. So everybody gets an allowance for that, and then an ongoing allowance for them to just continue to keep their remote workspace in good shape.
I think that also goes to how you maintain those good relationships with your employees, that everyone knows that you care about them being in a space that works for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess as we are kind of wrapping up now, is there anything that you think that someone listening to this podcast should really take away if they're maybe hesitant about going fully virtual, but they've been thinking about it? What would you say?
I think that the barriers are very low to virtual work, and that you will be pleasantly surprised at how many will welcome it, especially if you have the confidence and the tools and can help them over that hurdle so that they're able to be successful on the other side. We promote small business, and as you know, there's a high percentage of failures on small business because they don't get the right kind of support that they need to be successful. So I think the more of these hybrid type firms that can become available to be flexible with the way they work, I think it's just going to be a boom to our economy and to small business, which is really what drives our economy.
Amazing. So if any of our listeners would like to reach out to you for more information, where can they find you?
Well, our website is always best. We have our website is g2cfo.com, and there you will find all of our contact information and also more information about our firm.
Awesome. And are there any upcoming projects that you have that you are looking forward to?
We're finding that our clients are maturing, their businesses are maturing, and some of them are considering selling. And that's one of the things that we help them do, is to get that business into the state of being an asset that can be transferred. So now what we're doing is beginning that process of helping them broker those businesses, making sure those financials and the presentations are put together so they can get the optimum price. And then we work with a group of attorneys, financial planners, and bankers so that the buyer of the business also can get funding. That is kind of our next level challenge as we bring on more clients and they mature and it's time for the next generation.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. Oh, thanks so much for joining the podcast today, Grace. I think we have reached our time limit, but it was really, really interesting to hear about G2 CFO and how you manage your completely virtual firm. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And thank you everyone who joined. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Insights podcast.
Please like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to right now.
And please share with any of your colleagues or friends or family members that you think might benefit from listening to this podcast.
That's all from us. Until next time, see you then.
Bye.